Our 1968 record is selling better in 2024. Really? Yes. The history of the Jelly Bean Bandits is truly complicated.
We didn't drop acid back in 68.
For me, it started in 1962 with the Furies. Doug Shook knew 2 chords, and the kid upstairs, Tommy Monahan, taught us 2 more. With 4 chords, matching Saxony jackets, and a Gill Echo wreck, we were ready to rock. Drummer Denny Shook left the group. Ciro Di Lorenzo replaced him, and we added bassist Bob Richardson. New matching suits, of course, were in order. Around 1965, the Furies broke up, and I got with a band called the Aborigines. Steve Jaffe on rhythm guitar, Nick DeRosa on bass, and Joe Scalfari on drums. Steve had a definite style of singing. He would learn the first and last chorus of a song, and then basically make up everything in between. It worked for us. Next came a mishmash of musicians, the hard life. Working at the Mayflower, where the band was treated well, and the patrons liked to fight a lot with each other. Tom Valla was lead guitarist in 1966. Jack Doherty was playing across the street from the Mayflower with a musician named Jimmy Niclario and a drummer named Freddie Patine. Jimmy's band broke up. We asked Jack to replace Tom Valla when he left. Joe and I had worked together in the Aborigines. He was playing with an accordion player and eager to get back drumming in a rock and roll band. Fred Buck was a guitarist we came across in our Musicians Union membership book. We told him if he learned bass, we'd love to have him join us. Joe and me sang reasonably well, but we needed a front man with a really good voice. Billy Donald would sit in with the Good Times Band, doing a few Orbison songs. We caught him singing one night and knew he was it. The hard life was gone, and the Bandits were coming. We were the Mirror, until we learned that there was another Mirror. Wound up near closing at the Coral Reef nightclub, did many drinks, tossed out names. The Jelly Bean Bandits came up. Sounded reasonable to us. Frank Petersack owned the Trade Winds, where Billy would occasionally sit in. He needed an opening band for a weekend and called us. The featured act was the Little Giants. They were great, and we were terrible. Frank's brother Tony had a nightclub in Poughkeepsie named the Buccaneer. Did we want to take a 5-night-a-week gig there? You bet. Local acts like our friends, the Silver Bike, were club regulars. Agent Jimmy Lamar booked us into the Red Dog in Burlington, Vermont, which was over a taxi stand. When we would finish some Jimi Hendrix, a voice would come through our amp saying, "Pick up the old lady at the corner of Church Street." Back at the Trade Winds, we were now the house band, and got to enjoy opening weekend bands, like Nirvana, a 1968 band, with a Connecticut lead singer named Brian Rogers who said, "You always conjured up good times and fun. You all knew how to connect with the audience." Our fan base was growing by leaps and bounds. Donna said Jelly Bean Bandits were the best. It was a long ride to see them, but I went every week with my friends. Did lots of dancing and enjoying them. Mark Giamarca also remembers listening to Billy Donald singing about Shout when he drops on his back on stage. Then he does the same thing on the dance floor, singing and spinning in circles. Cynthia Pickering said, "It was fun and exciting. The Bandits were good. Of course, I had a crush on you, but no matter." Why didn't you tell me that back then, Cynthia? Other bands enjoyed the Bandits. Wife of Storm King's guitarist Jimmy Schofield, Mary, said, "I remember how great you were, and telling Jim that when I got home. He always had so much respect for you." We were paying our bills with steady gigs. What was next? A recording contract, of course. Did a demo tape in Kennett Studios, a converted barn outside of Albany, run by a blind engineer named Earl. Did one passable original track, Poor Precious Dreams, and one cover track of the Hollies' Hard, Hard Year, which was Painful. Took our original track to a Manhattan studio where we met Chris Houston. He kept it overnight, and when we came back, was a second guitar on it, courtesy of David Clayton Thomas of Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Tore out the Yellow Pages record studio section of the Manhattan phone book and began our song, getting consistently and unpleasantly thrown out of every office. Finally, we met a sweetheart secretary named Maxine Epstein at Mainstream Records. We didn't call security on us and actually called the owner, Bob Shad. "What do you want? A record contract?" he asked, after listening to our demo. And we said yes. Then he asked if we had enough music for an LP. We said yes, but we lied. Signed a recording contract with lawyer Joe Diamond. Signed a management contract with Bob's son-in-law, Maury Apatow. And just like that, we were a mainstream group. Well, we scrambled to write an album's worth of music. Bob set us up with photographer Chuck Stewart. He told us to dress like Jelly Bean Bandits for a cover shot. Chuck would go on to shoot John Coltrane, Eric Dolphy, and others. Did some studio shots in color, and then some black and white stills in Times Square. We did have promo shots taken later at Galati Studios in Newbury. We were into our Nehru psychedelic designs at that time. WHVW in Hyde Park was the first radio station to play our LP. Made our one and only television debut on Hank Brown's Twistorama on WKTV in Utica, New York. No idea to what to do on camera during a lip sync, so we punched a rubber chicken and passed it around. Band fan Diane Carlson did promo shots with a Bonnie and Clyde theme in Joe's backyard. We needed a manager, and Maury did nothing. We needed to get into clubs that accepted original music, and Jimmy could only get us into clubs wanting cover bands. We were running out of money, running out of time, and running out of heart. The Bandits were over. Joe, Jack, and Mike formed a trio called The Wedge and played the trade winds, but we didn't have the stage power the Bandits had. Added a bass player named Jimmy Squiglia and did a mediocre live recording. Fred and Billy formed a country band called Billy D and the Ramblers. It didn't work out. Eventually, Billy went back to his oldies roots with Big Edsel and the Hula Hoops. This would be his lifetime career band. Jack's true love was country music, so he learned double steel guitar playing with Eddie Stark and the Midnight Cowboys. His wife was Irish, so they made a trip to Ireland, and he joined the band Murphy and the Swallows. Mike got into a top 40 group called The Real Thing and became the house band at DeCarlo's Lounge in New Windsor. They were the first band in the region to do Greaser Nights of mainly 50s music. In 2017, they would reunite for one gig in Newbury, a benefit. Joe was always a hard rock drummer, and he joined a group called River Road doing heavy metal. He was a lead vocalist in the group. Tight performers all. When The Real Thing broke up, Mike joined drummer Frank Clarino, bassist Nick DiGidio, and guitarist Mike Angelo to form Diamond Head. They put out one live CD at the Gate in Vales Gate. It was perhaps the best live recording out of the Hudson Valley in the 1970s. When Joe's birthday rolled around in 1982, the Bandits hadn't been together in the same room for 14 years. Joe's wife, Robin, invited them over to help celebrate. I was a member of the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, the Grammy people, but never saw the Grammys live. In 1986, Barb and I went to Radio City Music Hall, saw Michael Jackson sing Man in the Mirror, and joined Billy Crystal as the MC. In Search of the Jelly Bean Bandits was a mockumentary recording in 1987 that some call The Poor Man's Spinal Tap. It was never released to the public until 2017, on the 50th anniversary of the band. Dave Kennedy and Jack Graziano were two impromptu guests. 2 years later, the Bandits started realizing their music was being bootlegged in Europe when they came across this compilation disc put out by Habla Italy, featuring a track from the 1968 mainstream LP. The original band lined up to get back together in 1991 for a benefit to help out the Hudson Valley Vietnam Veterans Chapter. It was a Holiday Inn in Newburgh with the Good Times Band opening. Later that year, I emceed an 8-hour network telethon for the Hudson Valley ARC that featured many oldies acts as well as local talent. Here I am with a dynamic vocalist and longtime friend, Marie Spinoza, local acts including Buffalo Bob Corsino and his a cappella group. Meanwhile in Europe, the bootlegs kept resurfacing, like Mayhem and Psychosis Volume 1, put out in the United Kingdom by La Roche. In 1999, we had a track on the 60s Garage Unknown CD, but this one was with their cooperation. I took a stab at acting, appearing in the PBS special Simple Justice as Virginia Supreme Court Justice Sterling Hutchinson. It was our Thurgood Marshall, the first black Supreme Court justice. He died the week of debut on PBS, so they aired it many times. Taking a marketing tip from the Beatles, we decided to put out our own annual Christmas card. Billy was busy with his Big Enzo band, so we continued without him. We decided to take advantage of our music being rediscovered and go into the studio with new original material. We worked with J.K. Lofton in Cape Fear's studio, Wilmington, North Carolina, where is now living. J.K., a great musician in his own right, had the feel for the new material that resulted in Time and Again. Christmas found us sending out card number 2, which was taken from the many shots made at the studio session in 1999. Information on the address side told everyone what we were doing with our careers. In 2001, we decided it was time to do a reunion show back in Newburgh. The old Trade Winds was long gone, so we opted for the Coliseum, which was now Seafood City. Our resident artist bass player, Fred, designed posters for the shows. We planned on selling our reunion CD, Time and Again, at the event. My best friend Frank Clarino was MC. We rehearsed at his place, the Diamond Head Ranch, before the show. It was fun for old friends, especially since Frank had a fully equipped 20-foot bar in his house. When our first LP came out in 1968, fans who knew us from the Trade Winds as a great cover band bought copies. Few stations played it, and it was forgotten soon after. At our reunion, we kicked off with Gimme Some Lovin' by Spencer Davis. The dance floor was packed. Then we went into original song from the LP, Everyone Sat Down. Then we did another copy song, and the dance floor was crowded again. We kept cover songs from then on, and everyone danced till the last song ended. My classmate Jan Hess enjoyed her CD copy, along with a photo of my pretty face. We decided for our next recording, Fred, Jack, and me would buy a Yamaha 16-track digital audio workstation. I would put the basic song down and send it to Fred, who would add bass tracks and Joe's drum tracks plus vocals. Jack would add his guitar tracks, and at the end, we would go into a studio for the final mix. Patrick Ogilvy at Flux Audio Video in Wilmington did the trick. In the meantime, Christmas card number 3 went out, using the last of the studio stills we had. For the Bandits fans who remember us as a top-notch club band in the mid-60s, we put out a live CD. The Mirror was our previous band name, and the CD was from a mono recording that our guy Patrick Ogilvy cleaned up and made pretty listenable. Yes, the Christmas cards keep on moving along. This photo was taken in my neighbor's yard for something new to send out in 2002. A die-hard psychedelic music fan named Roger Maglio put our song Super Hog on his Gear Fab label CD, Psychedelic States, New York in the 60s compilation. Thanks to the internet, we were discovering how many other bands around the world were fans of ours. So we put out a CD of our songs backed with other versions. Good friend and professional belly dancer Kelly Hawes loved her copy, and we loved her. One band was from Russia named Ramis Lucas, who did their arrangement of To Be Alone With You, and went out in front of the world-famous spires of St. Basil in Moscow to make a Christmas card for us. Another band, The Secrets from Melbourne, Australia, a ska-inflected take on Poor Precious Dream. They're also known as the Toll Hull Martyrs. Look carefully at the Christmas card 5 in 2003 faces. They are the Bandits as they are now, placed in the cover photo from 1968. Turns out we had enough live music from that one tape to release another CD for our club fans. As usual, Patrick Ogilvy of Flux Audio Video cleaned it up good. Linda Beesmer, another CCHS class of 1960, enjoyed the second CD release of Bandit Oldies. Notice that all the original Bandits are in the 2004 Christmas card. Billy ended his Big Edsel career and was about to rejoin the Bandits in the studio for our next recording, but he died of a heart attack during surgery. Our mainstream LP had been bootlegged so many times over 43 years, we decided to bootleg ourselves and title it 1967. Sold pretty well, and we got some money. Somewhere along the line, Fred took advantage of a post office offer and had Bandit stamps made. 3 hoes and 3 exclamation points is what we put on our 2005 Christmas card. Photo was taken in J.K. Lofton's Cape Fear studio between some sessions. The 2006 Christmas card found us posing in the same position as we were posed on our mainstream LP cover. We said our new CD, Second Wind, would arrive in 2007, along with a DVD. And nope, neither of them happened. What a year 2007 was. The Bandits came to Wilmington to work on their latest CD, Rock and Roll is Keeping Me Alive. I asked a good friend of mine, who happens to be a great guitarist, Steve Worrell, to do 2 tracks, which were absolutely amazing. Sadly, he was fighting cancer at the time and passed on. Joe, Jack, and Fred had never been on a gambling cruise before, so I took them across the border to South Carolina for the event. All 3 lost their bets, and I was the only one who won. Guess who arranged for the limo trip and tipped the driver as well? I was playing in a band called Neptune's Buffalo at the time, so one night we went to the Rusty Nail, and I introduced the lead guitarist, River, to the Bandits. He styled his beard to look like Marvel Comics' Doctor Strange. Solid Southern rock, San Francisco style guitar. Good stock was a great idea, but the promoter was a novice, even though his heart was in it. Eventually he lost all his money, and it never happened. Peter Rector of The Secrets was the one who originally suggested us to the promoter to book. Merry Christmas 2007 photo was taken in a 20-foot or so sports bar that Frank Clarino had in his house, always fully stocked. Now that's hospitality. In 2008, my wife Barbara took the Christmas card photo of the Bandits in our driveway. Again, we announced a new CD. Again, it did not happen. Remember in Spinal Tap, where they listed under the Puppet Show? We were listed under Butterball Turkeys, but the Bandits were the football team in Burgo, North Carolina, where I live. Iker Sposio is today a celebrated European artist living in Paris. In 2009, he published a music magazine called Morning and did a terrific interview with yours truly celebrating the Bandits. We took his artistic vision of our 1967 mainstream LP and used it for our Christmas card. It was unique in every sense of the word. Torino, Italy, and a band named Acid Lemon playing Country Woman. The mic intro is Italian, but the vocals are exact Bandits American dialogue. And the music is pretty true to the original as well. We did a tribute to our woman from the 1960s, the black leather-clad Diana Rigg, as Emma Peel in The Avengers. We all had this fantasy crush on her. Our Christmas cards came to an end in 2010, with the Bandits saying we're not sure of where we are going, and asked, haven't we been at this point before? Goldmine magazine writer Tom Verstopnik loved our music, but hard to tell from his photo. Smart ass.
There comes a time
The most unusual music video for production style came about in 2011 when we videotaped pianist Duke Ladd at his grand piano in the front room of his house. And at the end of Ghost around the piano, we faded Duke into becoming a ghost. 2012 was a year like no other. David McMorrin, a former Cornwall, New York neighbor and Purple Heart recipient, asked me to write a song celebrating the 25th anniversary of Rolling Thunder. Joe sang the lead in Socrates, while Fred added bass, but because of an error in recording, that's all we could use. I asked my good friend J.K. Lofton at Cape Fear Studio to help me out. He got me to add organ, synthesizers, and vocals. Drummer Dan Thomas, an Air Force veteran, added drum tracks. J.K. put in guitar tracks and lots of other things to make it work. It became the official theme of Rolling Thunder 25. Michael DiMartino, another Rolling Thunder member, gave us 500 event photos, and Don Clemens did the editing for a music video. It was shown on giant screens at Rolling Thunder 25 and submitted for a Grammy. Fred, Jack, and I attended the Rolling Thunder 25 as VIPs. I met and talked with vet supporters like Joe Mantegna, Rossi on Criminal Minds, an extremely likable individual. We also got to meet Gary Sinise and see his Lieutenant Dan band in action. Joe had an accident where he fell out of a tree during a snowstorm while hunting and broke his back. Before that happened, he got to make a guest appearance in a movie with Jane Fonda, Peace, Love, and Misunderstanding, shooting in Woodstock, New York. Joe was a biker, and he did a brief nude scene showing his bony rump. Another compilation CD came out that year called All Kinds of Highs. It was legitimate from the group that now owned the rights to all mainstream recordings. Our music video for Back in '68 featured a scrapbook full of Bandit photos from 1968 and from 1998, many of which had never been seen before. In autumn of 2016, Time Magazine, a psychedelic group fanzine in English, featured an interview with Jelly Bean Bandit Fred Buck, in edition number 9. Another European internet magazine, Psychedelic Baby Mag, out of Slovenia, had an interview with yours truly conducted by publisher Clement Bresnikar. Jack Doherty continues to feature his steel-playing talents, becoming part of a George Strait tribute band called Damn Straight. Another longtime Jelly Bean Bandit fan, Sue Carroll, got one of our live recording CDs. After 20 years, I finally got to meet one of the members of Ramis Locus, the Russian group who appeared on Bandit Planet, Mikhail Soyevyev. I co-hosted a Hudson Valley Musicians reunion at the Silk Factory in Newburgh, New York in 2023 to raise funds for the Purple Heart Museum. Great drummer and vocalist Bill Talmadge was there. We had done one in 2017 with John Cannon flying in from the West Coast to play. The Long Leap Film Festival in Raleigh, North Carolina, was screening one of my documentaries, and during the audience question and answer period following, I casually mentioned the Jelly Bean Bandits. A fellow in the audience said, "I play your music on my radio show." That man was Bruce Friedman, and he currently hosts the Friends of Blues Time, WNCU 90.7 FM. 1965 classmate of Friends, Carol Stevenson, met Fred and me at one of the class reunions. Fred had a lot of friends and fans gathered along the way. I did a documentary on Chris Houston in 2023, whom I had met in 1966. Over the years, his studio skills touch artists like Led Zeppelin, Blood, Sweat and Tears, The Rascals, Taylor Swift, Bruce Springsteen, and others. We were in good company with Chris, indeed. Our frontman, Billy Donald, left us in 2004, and our bassist, Fred Buck, passed on when we were making this documentary. Billy was our voice, Fred was our heart. We dedicate this documentary to the two of them.
Go.